The story begins with a dragon, who tells our protagonist that 100 years ago, a meteor from another world fell into the demon realm. The dragon further explains that our boy is the one who toyed with the demon realm using that strange power of his. But this, the dragon says, is where our boy's journey ends. The dragon instructs our boy to speak his wish. What desire led him to reach the dragon of the demon realm? Our protagonist's name is Min Saiwoo, a hunter whose specialty is healing. Saiwoo replies that he wants to return to the place he calls home. Upon hearing this, the dragon scoffs, saying that for someone who risked his life to challenge him, Saiwoo's wish is pitifully trivial. The dragon tells our boy that even if it's a wish that can never be granted, Saiwoo still came all this way, knowing that truth. The power to return to Saiwoo's home, the dimensional orb, is sealed within the dragon's heart. Hearing this, our boy smirks. Then Saiwoo tells the dragon, "Do you have any idea how much I had to suffer to find that? It's been a whole century, 100 damn years, in this cursed world." The dragon moves to strike at our boy, declaring that Saiwoo should consider himself lucky, for the dragon will now end his meaningless existence. Our boy starts to smile and calmly states, "Finally, I can put an end to this." A brilliant yellow light erupts through the area as our boy attacks. The dragon groans in pain, confused by the unsettling light. To the dragon's shock, he sees our boy's wounds begin to heal. But this isn't just ordinary healing, it's regeneration. Our boy walks confidently toward the dragon with a smirk. Saiwoo asks whether the dragon is going to hand over the dimensional orb or if he'll have to take it by force. Enraged, the dragon roars. Saiwoo and tells the dragon he has 3 seconds. In a flash, Saiwoo charges forward and defeats the dragon with a single decisive strike. We then see Saiwoo retrieve the dimensional orb. Without hesitation, Saiwoo consumes the dimensional orb. A deep yellow light fills the atmosphere. Our boy, eyes glowing, whispers, "Finally, I'm going home. To my disciples. To my little brother." The scene shifts. Our boy is lying on the damp soil of a rainforest. His eyes wrinkle under the sunlight before he suddenly sits up, sighing in pain. Our boy didn't come alone. He came with a mysterious being that lives inside his head, named Fry. Groaning, our boy mutters Frey's name, calling him a freeloader. Fry groggily responds, asking what he wants. He's busy throwing up from motion sickness. Saiwoo realizes Fry made it through to Earth as well. Our boy tells Fry to stop talking nonsense, or he'll vomit too. Murmuring to himself in confusion, our boy wonders aloud if this place is really Earth. Fry is flabbergasted and tells Saiwoo he can't even recognize his own home. Our boy retorts, "Don't you know Earth's landscapes vary depending on the location?" Saiwoo adds that the flow of mana feels eerily similar to that inside a gate. Shocked, our boy questions if they're really inside one. Then suddenly Saiwoo mana starts to surround his body, which surprises him. Confused, he suddenly yells, "What's wrong with my mana?" Fry, astonished, declares that our boy is a scam and jokes about breaking up with him. Our boy ignores the comment and mutters to himself, "Is this happening again?" Fry, baffled, asks what he means by again. Looking down at his trembling hands, our boy explains that it might be a side effect of dimensional travel. He recalls that when he was first sent from Earth 100 years ago, his status dropped significantly. Saiwoo gets frustrated, estimating that he now only has 15, maybe 20% of his former power. Fry, skeptical, asks if he's joking and tells him to recover quickly, or he'll kick him out. Annoyed, our boy snaps back, "You think it's that easy to kick me out?" His expression darkens. "It took me decades to recover last time." Exhausted and confused, Fry tells our boy that he's canceling their contract. Saiwoo's mana is too unstable, and without it, Fry can't use any of his magnificent skills. Our boy explains that it's not about Fry using his mana. Saiwoo's entire mana pool is unstable. The scene shifts once again, this time to another part of the forest. A brown-haired girl is in trouble. She's lost track of all her teammates. Panic fills her eyes as we see she's being chased by an orc. She trembles, thinking, "Why is there an orc this early in the dungeon?" Terrified, she shouts for help. As she turns to run, her foot catches on a stone and she falls hard to the ground. Looking up at the charging orc, she screams, tears falling down her face. "Am I going to die here?" Suddenly, Our boy appears and defeats the orc with a single strike. He smiles and asks the brown-haired girl, "Is this really Earth?" She stares at him in shock and replies, "Yes." He continues, "Is this Korea?" Again, she nods and says yes. Then he asks, "What year is it?" To which she answers, "It's 2037. She remains stunned, unable to comprehend how he took down an orc in one hit. But our boy is unfazed. Compared to what he faced, this is nothing. After all, when Saiwu was teleported to another dimension in 2027, 100 years in the demon realm translated to only 10 years here. Curious, he asks her about the current president. She replies, with surprise in her voice, "It's Choi Dae-soo." Our boy shouts in disbelief, "That musclehead? The guy missing an eye? He's the president." He stands there, still confused, trying to wrap his head around the fact that Choi Dae-soo is now the leader of the country. Was there seriously no one better for the job? He mutters. Changing the topic, our boy comments that the mana flow in this place feels off. He asks her if they're inside a gate. The girl chuckles and replies, "No, this is actually the tutorial tower." She steps closer and begins explaining that the tower appeared a few years ago. It acts as a gateway for hunters. If someone manages to clear it, they awaken abilities and gain new skills. The higher their awakening rank, the better the guilds they can join. Because of this, everyone rushes to clear the tower as quickly as possible. Saiwu furrows his brows, confused. Back in my day, the awakened just fought without all this nonsense. She smiles and steps closer, explaining that it was like that for the first-generation hunters, but things have changed. Our boy asks, "So, we need to clear this tower to get out? How long will that take?" She replies, "Usually about 8 weeks. But if you're skilled, maybe 6. The record holder is Ryu Jaiwan, a second-generation genius hunter. He cleared it in 3 weeks. Just then, as they stand alone in the middle of the forest, the girl suddenly senses something. Her eyes widen in fear as she spots a white tiger walking toward them. She panics, whispering, "It's a troll tiger. We need to run." But our boy remains calm, still processing the idea that 3 weeks is far too long for him. Saiwu sighs, murmuring, "My mana flow is sluggish, my body's not moving like it should." As the tiger leaps toward them, she shouts at him, "Didn't the academy teach you to run if you see a troll tiger?" But our boy remains lost in thought, calmly muttering that he has no choice. He'll just give himself a little extra time. Then, without even looking, Saiwu defeats the troll tiger with a single punch. As the beast crashes to the ground, he turns to her and says, 5 days. That should be enough." The scene shifts to an office, where the guildmaster's assistant informs him that someone has just exited the tutorial tower. Min Sijuan, the guildmaster, replies, "Not bad. They entered 8 weeks ago." But the assistant hesitates before adding, "That's the problem. The person wasn't on the original entry list." Min Sijuan furrows his brows in confusion. "Which batch are they from?" he asks. She responds nervously, "There's no record of him at all. And now he's causing a commotion outside." She hands him a photo, and the moment he sees it, he freezes. His eyes widen in disbelief as he mutters, "Hyung." Meanwhile, outside, our boy sighs, glancing at the girl trailing behind him. He wonders silently, "Is she seriously chasing after me?" The brown-haired girl couldn't believe that Saiwu had cleared the Tower of Tutorials in just 5 days. On the other hand, our boy was genuinely surprised to find that combat had significantly accelerated his recovery. Saiwu noted that he felt like about 25% of his strength had returned. The system then notified them that the tutorial had been completed and was now calculating stats and analyzing skill compatibility. However, the system was unable to measure something. Suddenly, it announced that the gate was opening. Our boy walked toward the gate, and the girl let out a sigh, calling after him, asking if they could go together. Saiwu simply smiled and stepped into the gate. On the other side, outside the tutorial tower, our boy and the brown-haired girl emerged and were immediately stopped by a staff member. Saiwu's name wasn't listed among the registered candidates who had entered the tower. 3 hunters walking nearby noticed the commotion. Their leader glanced over and asked, "Why is there such a fuss?" The man beside him replied, "The gate just opened, but it looks like there's a problem." The leader's eyes landed on the brown-haired girl, recognizing her. "I remember seeing the pretty one on the entry list," he muttered. Approaching the staff, the team leader demanded, "What's going on?" The staff member explained. These two just came out of the gate, but this guy's name isn't on the list. The team leader looked at Saiwu and thought to himself, he cleared the tower and came out without a scratch? That doesn't make sense. It could only mean this guy must have obtained some pretty decent skills. Just then, a black-haired hunter stepped forward and cut the conversation short. I'll take care of this, he said, flaring up. He turned to Saiwu, demanding, Who are you? Why isn't your name on the log? Our boy responded casually, I didn't come in through the entrance. The black-haired guy snapped, shouting, You entered through the gate, didn't you? Then you should have come out the same way. How can someone exit without entering? Our boy shrugged, replying, It just turned out that way. The black-haired hunter let out a mocking chuckle. This guy doesn't respect his seniors at all, he said, pointing a finger at our boy's head with a smirk. Looks like our boy awakened some kind of camouflage skill and is playing games. If you don't want to get hurt, then our boy better start talking. But Saiwu only stared at him with a blank expression. Infuriated, the black-haired guy asked, What's that look for? Still pointing his finger, he pressed closer. Our boy smirked and said calmly, Why don't you stop with the nonsense? Have you lost your mind? The man shouted. Our boy's smirk widened. Didn't I say I'd defeat you? He said, now wearing a confident grin. Come on, bring it. The opponent, enraged, threw a punch at our boy. The scene cut to a few moments later. The receptionist, rushing over, shouted, What on earth is going on here? She found the black-haired hunter and his entire team lying on the ground, groaning in defeat. A nearby staff member, visibly shaken, explained, That person I reported earlier for causing a disturbance got into a fight with the security team, and now he's vanished. Min Sijun arrived and asked the staff, Is there any CCTV footage clearly capturing this person? The staff member nodded and showed him the footage from the time of the incident. As you can see, he said, in just milliseconds, that guy took down 5 hunters and then disappeared without a trace. Could he be a hunter with stealth-type abilities? The staff wondered. Sijun shook his head. No, that's just pure speed. Nothing else. What does that even mean? The staff asked, puzzled. Sijun thought to himself, it's definitely Saiwu Hyung. He hasn't changed a bit in 10 years. Without hesitation, Min Sijun gave the order. Issue a wanted notice. Mobilize everyone in the guild to find this guy. Do not engage. Just tell him you're under Min Sijun's command and bring him to me. Hurry. Yes, sir, his team responded. Standing in the corridor, Min Sijun stared into the distance, thoughts racing. Where has he been all this time? Why now? Was he kidnapped, or did he escape? There had to be a reason for his long absence. If he had been in Korea, he would have come to me by now. So if he's really back, where would he go first? Sijun's gaze landed on the brown-haired girl who had emerged with Saiwu. Pointing at her, he said with certainty, She's the one who came out of the tutorial tower with him. The girl nods, stating that it's true and that she didn't do anything. It was the person who came with her who did everything. Sijun is impressed by her, noting that she exited the tower quickly and may have acquired some valuable skills. The girl shyly replies that she isn't sure if it's good or bad, but she did receive an A-rank skill. Sijun is astonished to hear that. They haven't even conducted the final assessment yet, but he thinks it's best to secure her for the guild in advance. He then comes up with an idea and tells her to tailor the contract terms to her liking and sign with their Empire Guild. The girl lights up with joy upon hearing that. With the Empire? She asks, almost in disbelief. She adds that she can't believe this is real, and if it is, it will be a great honor for her and her family. Just then, a voice from behind remarks, the guild name might be Empire, but they're acting like thugs. Min Saiwu turns around and calmly tells the speaker to watch his language. The camera pans to reveal Hunter Ryu Jawan, an S-rank hunter and the guild master of GM. He smirks at Sijun and says he chose his words carefully. Did I upset you? You're always so absurdly meticulous. Choi Sung, another S-rank hunter and the guild master of White Lion, steps forward and observes that Sijun appears to be getting outplayed. He adds that it seems everyone showed up after being contacted by the association. He further mentions that the entire security team was taken down, possibly by an unregistered awakened. This unknown individual defeated not just 3 hunters, but the security team as well. Choi Sung emphasizes that they don't know who this hunter is yet, but they must find him. At this level, The individual has likely awakened a high-grade skill and may become a top-tier talent. He says plainly that he would love to bring this hunter into his organization. Ryu Jawan laughs, saying, "Whoever finds him first gets him." He adds that as long as they find the guy, it doesn't matter if the methods are a bit shady. Min Sijuan glares at him. Choi Sung suggests that they each search for the hunter independently, since neither has time to waste. But they should inform each other if they find anything about this new awakener. Before leaving, he points to the brown-haired girl, offering her his card. He tells her she can take her time to think about her decision. As an awakened, any guild would welcome her. "Just do as you please," he says. While walking away, Ryu Jawan remarks that he'll be in touch if he finds the new awakener. Min Sijuan responds in frustration, muttering that it's not like that's going to happen. In another scene, Jawan's assistant asks how his conversation with them went. Jawan instructs his assistant, Jinsik, to gather all the C and D-rank hunters from Geum, form a team, and deploy them immediately. "I want to find this new awakener," he says. Jinsik smirks and asks who he's referring to. Ryu Jawan grins and replies, "I'm talking about Min Sijuan's brother, Hunter Min Saiwu." Then the scene shifts to a restaurant, where Saiwu is waiting for his fried chicken. Fry remarks that the first place Saiwu came to after returning to Earth is one that serves nothing but fried birds. Our boy denies the claim and tells Fry to just try it. He's certain that once Fry tastes it, he'll understand why he rushed over. Fry takes a bite, visibly impressed, and exclaims that the chicken is incredible. He dramatically laments how he's wasted his entire life, asking how our boy possibly survived 100 years in the demon realm without experiencing this. Our boy calmly tells him to be quiet. He's filling him up with humanity. Fry demands more, urging our boy not to hog it all for himself, insisting that everything is his now. He thanks Saiwu for letting him share the fried bird with him. As they walk down the street, Fry asks where they're headed. Our boy, clearly annoyed, responds that he's going home. When they arrive at a house, Fry asks if this is Saiwu's home. Our boy confirms it, opens the door with his hand, and quietly steps inside. As he enters, a voice calls out, saying he's late. It's his father's voice. His mother then asks if he's hungry, saying dinner is ready and he should call his brother Sijuan. Suddenly, it hits him. This is his childhood. His mother repeats the question, and he watches a little boy running toward her, shouting that he's hungry. Their mother, holding the pot, tells them to wash their hands first. The vision fades, and he's left staring at an old, abandoned house. Our boy sits in silence, stunned. He hadn't expected something like this. Thinking that he still can't recall his parents' faces. He reflects bitterly that while people say forgetting is a gift from God, for him, it's a curse. Saiwu spent 100 years in the demon realm, surviving endless battles on a foreign world. The dulling of his senses, the passage of warped time, and the erosion of his sense of self, all of it tried to erase him. He feared the curse of oblivion would consume him entirely. So he clung tightly to fragments of memory, his younger sibling, his disciples. They weren't just memories. They became obsessions, anchors, lingering attachments. And that's okay. For Saiwu, it's enough that he survived a century. Fry looks around and remarks that Saiwu's home feels lonely, and strangely, their place in the demon realm felt warmer. He adds that Saiwu survived because of him too. Our boy pauses, then silently agrees and thanks Fry in his heart. Suddenly, a thought hits him. There's no chicken here. Fry smirks and admits that, logically, he's got no comeback for that. Saiwu rises, adjusting his expression. He smiles softly and says he just wanted to stop by briefly and that it's time to move on. Our boy steps into the backyard and asks if they should start looking for the kids. He wonders aloud if everyone's been well these past 10 years. Thinking of his younger brother, he smiles again, hoping Sijuan is doing okay. At that moment, a shout comes from outside the gate. Someone says they've finally found him. A red-haired man approaches and accuses him of being the one who caused a scene at the tower exit. He introduces himself as Bayan Hakmon, a C-rank hunter from Vajra. He also questions if Saiwu even realizes how long they've been searching for him. Our boy shrugs and replies indifferently, asking if he's supposed to feel sorry. Bayan yells back, demanding if he didn't hear, they're from Vajra. Our boy answers them calmly, saying it doesn't matter to him where they're from. Bayan, clearly irritated, asks if Saiwu still doesn't understand what they want or the situation he's in. Saiwu smirks and remarks that even kids are becoming hunters these days. What a wonderful world they live in. Bayan, enraged by the remark, declares that he'll teach Saiwu a lesson. He suddenly jumps behind him and lands a punch, sending our boy flying into the wall. Chuckling, Bayan mocks him, asking who Saiwu thinks he is to talk like that. They start ridiculing him again. A skill window appears, displaying a C-grade skill called Lightning Flash, the ability Bayan just used. Saiwu turns to Fry and asks how about it. Does he want to eat it? Fry replies that it's the first skill he's tasted since returning to Earth, and he's eager to try it. The others are stunned to see Saiwu getting up. In an instant, our boy closes the distance and strikes Bayan, slamming him to the ground. Bayan's teammates are shocked at the sight. Our boy tells Fry to go ahead and eat the new skill. A dark magic circle appears, and Saiwu successfully extracts it. He remarks that Frey's abilities work on Earth too. Fry grins and says it feels good, but still not as good as chicken. One of Bayan's teammates yells in frustration and charges at our boy. Without hesitation, Saiwu defeats them all with a single, swift strike. Another attacker comes from behind, but our boy dodges easily and counters with a powerful kick. Another skill window appears, this time showing Vital Point Strike, a C+ grade ability. Our boy notices the opponent's blade is dull and wonders why a swordsman would carry such a weapon. He mutters that he'd like to borrow it. Just as he prepares to strike again, a voice calls out behind him. Our boy freezes in shock. It's his younger brother, Sijuan. Seeing his older brother after so long, Sijuan begins to cry. 20 years ago, the gates opened on a peaceful Earth, throwing the world into chaos. Monsters poured out of the gates, rampaging across the land, and the first generation of awakened individuals gained their powers the moment the gates appeared. With no policies or laws in place to control the situation, it became an era of barbarism, where everyone was inexperienced and simply trying to survive. In the midst of this chaos, Min Sijuan and his siblings lost their parents at a young age, forcing them to survive by any means necessary. Saiwu was one of the first generation awakened, who dropped out of school to become a hunter in order to raise his younger brother. Young Min Sijuan once asked his elder brother why he wasn't going to school. Saiwu smiled and told him that he had work to do instead. Sijuan asked if he was doing all this because of him. Saiwu patted his head and replied that he was just terrible at studying, so he decided to start his career early. Sijuan stayed quiet for a moment, then asked sadly if he would be coming back late. Saiwu smiled again to comfort him and promised he'd return early. Then, he gently closed the gate behind him. The scene shifts to the present, where Saiwu arrives at Sijuan's place. Our boy is surprised to see that his younger brother lives in such a nice home. He asks Sijuan if he really bought this place on his own, even without a loan. Clearly shocked, our boy asks if he's really succeeded. Sijuan responds coolly, saying it's nothing special and that the money was earned using the skills he learned from Hyung. He tells Saiwu that this is the house they were meant to live in together, and there's a room prepared for him too. Inwardly, Sijuan can hardly believe it's really his older brother. How could the person they searched for all these years suddenly reappear after 10 years? Our boy chuckles, joking that he'll be raised by his little brother now, since there's a room waiting for him in this fancy house. He praises his brother, telling him he's worked hard. Min Sijuan smiles slightly and replies that it was Hyung who did all the hard work. What nonsense is he talking about? Now truly accepting the reality, Sijuan tells our boy that he has no idea how hard he searched for him. He asks where Saiwu has been all this time and why he only returned now. Our boy chuckles again, joy in his eyes, and says that he has 100 years worth of stories to share, placing his hand gently on Sijuan's head. As they sit together, Saiwu tells him everything. To summarize, Sijuan recounts that 10 years ago, when Saiwu defeated the fourth demon lord, he was transported to another dimension by an artifact the demon lord possessed. In that other world, Saiwu met a being called a predator, capable of extracting other people's skills. For 100 years, our boy lived with that power, growing stronger, and eventually sought out dragons with dimensional magic. When Saiwu reached the Dragon King, he defeated him and obtained the dimensional orb embedded in the dragon's heart, which allowed him to return to Earth. With that, he finally made it back home. Now, our boy continues, telling Sejun that the predator crossed over to Earth with him and is now inside his head. Sejun is shocked and asks again if he means the predator is inside his head and if it's some kind of possession. Our boy replies that it's not possession, but more like a partnership, a comrade. Our boy tells Sejun not to take it too seriously and assures him that his Hyung isn't crazy. Sejun tells Siwoo he believes him. He adds that the world they live in now isn't one where things like that sound unbelievable anymore. It doesn't matter. He flares up emotionally, saying it's enough for him that his older brother is back. Our boy smiles and tells him it's Sejun's turn to share. He points to a picture on the laptop and asks what happened in the country over the past 10 years that allowed someone like Choi Dae-soo to become president. Sejun begins explaining. After Siwoo disappeared, Dae-soo took all the credit for defeating the fourth demon lord. With that, he was celebrated as the greatest hunter of the first generation. Using his artificial reputation, he ascended to the presidency. He continues to push policies that work against their guild. Sejun confesses that he's afraid of what Dae-soo will do if he finds out that Siwoo has returned. Our boy scoffs, saying Dae-soo's intentions are obvious. After all, he's the only SS rank hunter in South Korea, and frankly, it's laughable. Siwoo then brings up the group, called Gwam, the ones who attacked him at the house. He asks if they're Dae-soo's lackeys. Sejun explains that Dae-soo's guild is called Infinite. There are 7 representative guilds in South Korea, collectively known as Heptagram. Their own guild, Empire, is one of them. He adds that Vajra is a guild belonging to the second generation and is led by hunter Ryu Jawan. Sejun reassures his brother that he'll handle the situation from today, so Siwoo shouldn't worry about it. Our boy, watching him, is quietly stunned. His little brother has changed. He's become a bit rough around the edges in these 10 years. Our boy asks him about his disciples. Sejun replies that they've been living apart. Then Siwoo inquires if Sejun has any disciples of his own. Sejun responds that they haven't contacted each other in a while. Xiaolong went back home, and Kang Yeohwa is now under Choi Dae-soo. Hearing this, Siwoo remarks that it's a bit unexpected. Then he asks about Minjun. Sejun replies that she was killed. Siwoo's expression hardens with anger, and our boy asks who did it. Sejun explains that Minjun's body disappeared, so they couldn't identify the culprit. He adds that the only ones who could kill a hunter are other hunters or unregistered awakened individuals. At the time, even HMCS participated in the investigation, but there was no progress. Our boy asks what HMCS is. Sejun replies that HMCS stands for the Hunter Special Investigation Unit, an international agency operating on the front lines of hunter-related crime. He shows Siwoo the laptop screen and continues, explaining that HMCS has the authority to investigate and arrest all awakened criminals. In other words, they're like hunter police. Our boy asks if he has any connections there. Sejun nods and replies that he does, but questions if Siwoo seriously plans to join them. He adds that if it's an investigation our boy wants, he should use their guild's information team instead, and warns him not to get involved with dangerous places like HMCS. Our boy answers that he's not just looking for information. Sejun interrupts, pointing out that hunters are about combat, while HMCS deals with crimes. He advises Siwoo to rest since he just returned, and take some time to regain his senses. Our boy replies while scrolling through the laptop, calmly saying he spent 100 years fighting in the other world. And after surviving that, what hasn't he done? He says with a gentle smile. Suddenly, Sejun remembers something. He had forgotten Siwoo's nickname. He says, if that's how Siwoo feels, he understands. Yehi of Frozen Soul is a manager there, and he'll make contact. Siwoo thanks his brother with a soft smile. Sejun thinks to himself that although his brother's face is the same, the atmosphere around him has changed. He wonders what really happened in that other world. Our boy sighs and tells Sejun that he's seen a face somewhere before. Sejun cuts in, "Who?" and leans over to look. They both sit in front of the laptop. Sejun begins reading aloud. HMCS, Gangbuk District Team Leader Hwang Jianggu, a 1.5 generation hunter. Do you know him? Then the scene shifts. 2 days later, at the HMCS headquarters Gangbuk team office, a brown-haired man yells in frustration, "These second-generation guys." His team member, startled, asks what's wrong. The brown-haired man flares up, saying they've just received a notice from higher-ups that a new rookie is being dropped into his team. The teammate sighs, replying hesitantly, huh? The brown-haired man continues, saying that back in his day, during the lawless zone era, everything was about strength. They used to write wills before going out on missions. He then pauses, remembering something. Did I ever tell you about the time I almost died in a raid nearly 10 years ago? 768 days. The team member responds, I think I've heard that one before. The brown-haired man insists, well, listen to it again. He starts recounting how, as a rookie, he took a fatal wound during a mission. He grows emotional, saying their party was on the verge of collapse and losing everything. But then, a healer appeared with miraculous abilities, like Hua Tuo, and saved his life. At that moment, our boy enters the room and calls out, Byung-gu. Saiwu says, why are you changing your name? It confuses people. Our boy asks him if he remembers him, the lifesaver. The brown-haired man is too stunned to respond. His eyes widen as he yells Saiwu's name in shock. At the HMCS headquarters, Byung-gu introduced our boy to his team as the newest recruit to join their gangbuk unit. He added that since Saiwu was new, he might not be familiar with how things worked around there. He firmly instructed the team that if Saiwu ever needed any information, they were to provide it immediately. As his seniors, they were to treat him with the utmost respect. A green-haired girl whispered in astonishment, remarking how unusual it was for their team leader to act this way. The boy standing beside her told her to stay quiet. This new recruit didn't seem like an ordinary one. Byung-gu then pointed at the green-haired girl and called out her name, Kim Sung. Startled, Kim Sung hesitantly responded, yes, I'm listening. Byung-gu ordered her to follow him to the conference room, explaining they would conduct a quick briefing on the new recruit. The other team members speculated whether the new recruit might be a 3-star hunter. The scene shifted to the conference room. Sung turned to Saiwu and asked, would you like a coffee? Americano or mix? Mix, Saiwu replied. Byung-gu held out a uniform to our boy, explaining it was the standard HMCS deployment gear. He asked for Saiwu's size. Before Saiwu could respond, Kim Sung, who served as the team's data manager, raised her hand and interrupted. She stated that since this was an official briefing, she hadn't received any instructions regarding the new recruit and wasn't sure what information to provide. Saiwu calmly told her to compile and summarize all hunter death records from 20 years ago. Sung blinked in confusion, asking if he meant 20 years worth of data. That would be a massive undertaking, especially considering they had to submit reports to the Hunter Association. Byung-gu cut in before she could protest further. Stop making excuses, he said, his tone sharp but composed. You've got enough experience to figure it out. Turning to our boy, Byung-gu smiled. Don't worry, she'll handle it quickly and expertly. Still bewildered, Sung muttered to herself, wondering when the team leader had changed. Then, reading something on her screen, she asked Saiwu, when you said killed, were you only referring to humans? Saiwu nodded. Only cases officially recognized as murder by HMCS will do. Also, include a list of hunters who are still alive. He then crushed his paper cup, deep in thought. Killing an awakened hunter was nearly impossible, unless the attacker was also awakened and of equal strength. If someone had managed to kill a high-tier hunter like Minjun, chances were the culprit had been an awakened hunter themselves. Even if they'd been caught or killed, there should be a record somewhere. Tracking them now took priority. Sung asked where to send the compiled data. To my phone, Saiwu replied. Just then, someone called out to the team leader. With visible irritation, Byung-gu told them to come in. A team member entered and reported that the police had requested support. A turf war had broken out between crews, some of whom included awakened individuals. Byung-gu frowned. Can't the police handle it? They're just low-ranked stragglers. Sung interjected. One of them is Cerberus. Byung-gu's expression turned sour. Those guys again. Our boy turned to Sung. Cerberus. They're not your average crew, Sung explained. They're involved in arms trafficking, contract killings, and there are even rumors about hunter trafficking. Regular police can't handle that kind of threat. Hearing this, Saiwu told Byung-gu to take him along. The team leader sighed. Didn't I tell you to change your name to Jiang-gu? Our boy simply stared back at him, expressionless. Byung-gu chuckled. All right, fine. If you're going with that, I'll stick with Byung-gu too. Then he added, let's go. Our boy stood and followed him, now dressed in the standard HMCS uniform. As they prepared to leave, Byung-gu said, You're still a rookie. Think of this as part of your training. The scene shifted. In a dimly lit room filled with scattered chairs and injured individuals on the floor, a voice sneered. The field captain of the Bloodless Reaper is no big deal. Kong Ho, the second in command of Cerberus, smirked. At least not in front of the shield, right? His assistant nodded. You're totally right. A red-haired man, Jiken, Cerberus's third in command, stood up slightly and smirked in quiet amusement. That's a bit unfair, he said to Kong Ho. I could take down those guys too. Kong Ho turned to him with a grin. Feeling left out, Jiken? If Jiken is serious, then he should try defeating him. Jiken responds that he'll wait for the right time. One of these days, he plans to challenge him. Kong Ho laughs and says they wouldn't get far without him, adding that it's a good thing Jiken quit being a hunter and joined the organization. He remarks that their boss really does have a good eye for talent. Kong Ho's assistant interrupts, asking if they should begin expanding their territory. Kong Ho nods and declares that, as of today, the place belongs to Cerberus. Suddenly, Kong Ho is attacked by someone. One of the crew members, startled, asks who the intruder is and wonders aloud if he's a stray who escaped. It's our boy. Jiken looks over and asks Kong Ho if he killed the other guys. He reminds him that messing with HMCS complicates things. Kong Ho shrugs and replies, "Who cares? Just take care of it like you always do." Our boy steps forward and, with a cold expression, says that judging by how casually they're talking, it's likely they've killed a few hunters before. Janko reacts in shock. Our boy then says firmly, "Show me what you've got." Kong Ho's assistant demands to know why he's here and why he's alone. Janko turns to the assistant and says, "What do you mean? What should we do? If he wants to see something, show him." Kong Ho unleashes his skill and orders the team to take Saiwa down. Without hesitation, they all charge at him. What follows is swift and brutal. Saiwa effortlessly defeats them all. Eventually, he walks over to Janko, the only one left conscious, and wakes him up. Our boy calmly tells Fry, "Eat this skill." Fry responds excitedly, saying it's a decent one and he's eager to consume it. Lying on the ground, Janko stares in disbelief. "All of them, defeated by one guy," he mutters. He looks up and asks our boy, "Why are you going this far?" He insists that they didn't want anything and that they've never killed a hunter. Our boy answers coolly, "I know. I didn't think you were capable of something like that anyway." Janko, still dazed, asks, "Then why?" Our boy replies, "I just wanted to test how strong awakened criminals have become lately." He pauses, then adds, "And judging by your performance, taking you down early was the right call." Just then, Byungu arrives, calling out to our boy in a worried tone. He asks if he's all right, explaining that they've cleared the entire upper floor. He reminds our boy that he insisted on going alone, which is why he was concerned. Our boy responds that he defeated all the others and spared one, Janko, since Byunga would need at least one boss-level target. Byunga nods, replying that it's acceptable as long as he was attacked first. He reminds Saiwa that HMCS operates as an international organization and must follow standard procedures. All agents are required to wear body cams to verify their actions. Byungu watches the aftermath, thinking in astonishment that these Cerberus members were ruthless enough to warrant immediate execution. Yet Saiwu took them all down alone. And he's speaking about it so casually? He recalls that our boy used to be called the Mad Dog, and wonders silently, was he always this rough? Our boy then admits that he forgot to turn on his body cam. He shrugs and adds that he's still in his probationary period. Then, he turns to Byungu. "Will you cover for me?" Byunga hesitates, then answers, "Yes." Meanwhile, a man hiding under a table picks up a call. Speaking quietly, he reports, "Cerberus has been completely wiped out. They didn't even get a chance to fight back. Kong Ho was arrested, and Jiken is dead." On the other end of the line, A-rank Hunter Gret from the Hong Kong Guild listens. Furious, his expression darkening with rage. Hunter Gret and the Hong Kong Guild have arrived in Korea. Members of the Korea Hunter Association are present at the airport to receive Hunter Gret. Lee Junyoung steps forward and introduces himself. However, Hunter Gret ignores the introduction and immediately asks where his brother is. Lee Junyoung replies that Jiken is currently placed in the Hunter Forensics Department. He further explains that he will accompany Hunter Gret to verify the body and complete the necessary procedures to arrange his designated accommodation. Gret sighs and forces a smile before asking about a suspect. He states that he heard the person responsible for his brother's death is affiliated with HMCS. Lee responds that he cannot comment on anything related to that. Gret then asks if he is permitted to leave the premises outside of his scheduled agenda. Lee replies that it is not allowed. Hunter Gret must remain at his designated accommodation until the prearranged departure date. If he leaves without authorization, under Hunter International law, he will face deportation along with disciplinary action and penalties. Lee then states they will now escort him to the forensics department. Frustrated, Hunter Gret points at his junior and orders him to find the individual responsible. Ryu Yinpeng, a B+ rank hunter, smiles and nods in agreement. Hunter Gret, burning with quiet rage, thinks to himself that he'll wait. He'll be the one to take down the person who killed his brother. The scene shifts to our boy speaking with Sijun. He asks whether everything was taken from Minjun's belongings. Sijun, offering him a diary, explains that 2 days after Minjun was killed, the house was completely ransacked. Our boy confirms, asking if a hunter's mana is like a fingerprint, capable of revealing their code, attributes, and rank. Saiwoo then notes that the investigators believe the culprit took everything to erase any trace of their presence. Since Minjun was an archaeologist and his house was filled with valuable research material, not a single item containing his mana was left behind. Our boy then asks if they're certain the real culprit did this, or if it might have just been a random burglary. Sijun looks confused by the question. Saiwoo points to a sheet of paper, stating that most of the stolen items were valuable. With the level of mess left behind, the chances of leaving evidence actually increase. If the true intent was to erase mana traces, it would have been far more effective to simply set fire to the house and destroy everything. Sijun asks if Saiwoo is implying that someone else took advantage of the empty house after Minjun was killed. Our boy replies that he reviewed HMCS crime files and found more cases like this than expected. As he walks down the corridor, our boy mutters that it looks like they'll need to rough up some fences. Sijun responds with concern, saying that even if the resale process took time, it's been years. There's no way Minjun's things are still out there. Our boy smiles and replies, "We won't know until we check." The scene shifts again to later that day. Our boy vents to Fry, saying that this was exactly what he had told Sijun with confidence. Now, exhausted and frustrated, he wonders aloud why there are so many thieves in such a small country. A whole week has passed, and he's getting nowhere. Fry reassures him, saying he has good instincts and should trust him. He'll guide him in the right direction. Moments later, after following Frey's lead, our boy finds himself in a dead end. He explodes in frustration, yelling that this was a waste of time. Fry sighs, clearly helpless. Then, our boy overhears a conversation nearby. Someone is telling another person about rumors that HMCS has been cracking down hard on the fences lately. The speaker adds that just yesterday, the entire Yongdeungpo area was taken down. A blonde-haired man listening in asks, confused, if that's really true, and whether HMCS actually did it without a warrant. He replies that it's the HMCS headquarters, an organization with full investigative authority and the right to eliminate awakened criminals on the spot. He adds that anyone who resists could end up either in prison or dead. The blonde-haired guy scoffs, saying they're just government puppets. Another person agrees, commenting that this is exactly why there are no high-rankers in organizations like HMCS. He continues, noting that the person taking down fences this time isn't just any ordinary agent. He explains that they work in stolen hunter goods and suggests it might be time to relocate their warehouse. Our boy, standing behind them, suddenly asks where that warehouse is. Shocked, they spin around and ask who's there. Smiling, our boy responds, "It's time for your warehouse to be confiscated." The group panics. One of them turns to his boss and whispers that he thinks it's the guy from HMCS who's been cracking down on fences. The boss immediately informs his team via phone to regroup at Sector 2, declaring it an emergency. Our boy calmly asks again where the warehouse is, warning them that unless they want to get injured, they should start talking. He doesn't have time to waste. The blonde-haired guy commands his assistant to handle the situation. The assistant nervously replies that he's not a combat type. Suddenly, more team members arrive and ask their boss what's going on. The boss smirks and replies that this idiot doesn't even realize where he's walked into. He declares that even if this guy is from HMCS, they'll teach him a lesson, and no one will ever find his body. Our boy listens silently, and then remarks that they're making it easier for him by gathering in one place. A yellow light bursts across the area. Turning to Fry, our boy tells him to use a new skill for the first time. Fry replies that one chicken will be counted as payment for one skill. Our boy agrees to the deal. The gang looks on in disbelief, having never expected something like this. Saiwoo activates his lightning skill and, with a single decisive strike, takes all of them down. Our boy turns to the blonde-haired man's assistant and asks, "So, ready to show me the warehouse now?" The assistant, trembling, asks who Saiwoo really is. Our boy smirks. "I'm just a guy." After capturing all of them, our boy begins searching the area for clues. Fry, pointing at a diary, asks Saiwoo if that's the manna he was so desperate to find. Our boy confirms that it is. He recognized it immediately. However, one thing remained untouched. The diary is actually a research journal belonging to Minjun. Our boy realizes there's a security spell placed on it, one strong enough that it won't open without the mana of its original owner. Fry asks if he's still going to eat, since the book won't open and they can't read it. Our boy, checking his phone, replies that it doesn't matter. He just needs the mana inside, not the book itself. He then calls Byung-gu, informing him that he has a dozen criminals tied up and needs him to come clean up the scene. He also tells him to bring the car. They've got somewhere else to be. The scene shifts to a battlefield neutral zone, a hidden marketplace where underground techniques, abilities, and magical artifacts are exchanged freely. Among the crowd, a blue-haired girl browses through a display of skill cards laid out on a table. She studies them carefully, her eyes narrowing in thought. After a long pause, she hesitantly chooses one. The girl's name is Shaman Mamyoung, one of the 12 chiefs of Black Skyfall. She smiles softly, sensing that an important guest may soon be coming her way. In the battlefield neutral zone, our boy remarks that nothing has changed compared to 10 years ago. Fry comments that our boy is quite popular. Everyone is looking at Saiwoo. He adds that their abilities all seem impressive and suggests they should take someone down and eat one of their skills. Our boy dismisses the idea, replying that this is a neutral combat zone and it would be too much of a hassle to fight anyone here. Just then, Mamyoung approaches and notes that it's been a while since she last saw him. She says she's been waiting for him and invites him inside. Once they enter her place, Mamyoung comments that it's hard to believe 10 years have passed. He hasn't changed at all. Our boy replies that Mamyoung is still the same and still unnamed. She ignores the remark and asks where he's been all this time, pointing out that he completely cut off contact. He hands her Minjun's book and replies that it's a long story, not a very interesting one. He then explains that he wants her to extract the mana from the book. Mamyoung chuckles, saying he hasn't changed, always straight to the point. She agrees to extract the mana, mentioning that she enjoys doing things like this. She asks if he still remembers how it's done. Our boy picks up a knife from the table and points it toward his hand. He explains that mana, once channeled through abilities or magic, can't easily return to its original state. He makes a small cut on his hand, beginning the ritual. To explain the process, he compares a completed spell to curry. You can remove solid ingredients like carrots and potatoes from finished curry, but you can't separate the dissolved curry powder, water, and other ingredients back into their original forms. This seemingly impossible task becomes reality thanks to a woman known only as Unnamed. With her unique skill, Mana Hacker, Mamyoung collects the mana, an illegal medium, a power that defies causality, a force that goes against the laws of nature. She places it back on the table and explains that abilities like this are often linked to crime, which is why society views them with suspicion. She then cuts her own wrist slightly with the same knife and smiles, stating that the process is complete. Fry, visibly uneasy, mutters that Mamyoung's skills are unsettling and definitely not his type. Our boy shakes her hand and thanks her for the compliment. Mamyoung, still smiling, asks if Saiwoo is leaving so soon. He replies that he is pending work and promises to visit again. She sighs wistfully, remarking that he's always been such a mysterious one. As they leave, Fry complains that the place gave him a bad vibe and that he never wants to return. While driving, our boy asks why Fry is acting so strangely today. Fry flares up, saying that both Saiwoo and Mamyoung are incredibly depraved. Our boy raises an eyebrow, confused by the remark, and asks what he's even talking about. Fry dodges the question and changes the topic, asking where they're headed. He just wants to go home and rest. Our boy replies that they're going to the Ancient History Research Institute, the place where Minjun was taken down. Upon arrival, our boy barges into the building. Fry groans, pointing out that ever since gaining powers, Saiwu has been barging in everywhere, and it's technically trespassing. Our boy waves it off, saying not to worry, the building belongs to the Empire Guild. He adds that it's fortunate Sijuan bought and preserved the place early on. Looking around, our boy reflects that he's not the only one still struggling to accept Minjun's death. He places his hand on a table and states that he wants to see the memory of that day. Fry looks concerned. You're really going to use that? Our boy murmurs something to himself. Suddenly, the room turns blue. He places the container he received from Mam Young on the floor and speaks the words, Mana Remembrance. The blue light begins to illuminate the surrounding. The Mana Remembrance skill activates, and translucent figures start to appear. The glass container emits a steady, glowing blue light. Fry, clearly irritated, asks if Saiwa's mana reserves are so small that he can't see anything clearly. Our boy replies calmly, explaining that it can't be helped. Mana Remembrance doesn't display the target's memories, only their emotions. Saiwu reflects that Minjun was never a weak hunter. If someone managed to take her down so quickly and alone, the culprit must be highly skilled. He watches the glowing scene intently, confusion settling in as he mutters, It was an order. That can only mean one thing. The higher-ups were involved. Minjun wasn't just a researcher. She was tied to an organization. Fry glances at him and asks if he's okay. Our boy, puzzled, responds, What do you even mean by that? Fry begins to speak seriously, recalling how, back in the demon realm, Saiwu constantly talked about his younger siblings and his disciples. Even after 100 years, he never forgot them. The very first thing he did upon returning was to look for them. Now, after watching his disciples' death with his own eyes and remaining completely composed, Fry questions whether our boy even has a heart at all. Our boy, surprised and amused, picks up the container from the floor and asks where Fry learned to speak like that. It's hard to believe you'd say something like that, he says with a light laugh. Fry shrugs and replies, I picked those words from X-Flix. Our boy doesn't respond. Fry continues, saying that Saiwa's emotions are surging so violently, they're making him feel nauseous. He then asks whether our boy is hiding his emotions, or if he simply doesn't have the ability to show them. Staring deeply into the container, our boy replies that he's completely fine. Still, a flicker of grief appears on his face. He adds that after 100 years, something inside was bound to break eventually. Suddenly, a masked figure enters through the door and asks, Are you really Min Saiwu? It's Ryu Yinpeng. Without waiting, Ryu questions where Saiwu has been wandering all day and what kind of trouble he's been causing. Then, changing the subject, he says someone really wants to meet him and tells our boy to come quietly. Our boy counts to 3 and then remarks that Ryu is acting awfully arrogant for someone dragging around 6 little weapons. Ryu remains silent for a moment, then smirks. Good. That makes this easier. He offers Saiwu a choice. Option 1, come quietly. Option 2, resist and suffer severe injuries. Our boy sighs and says that, rather than getting hurt, he'd prefer to go along quietly. Ryu turns to his team and instructs them to capture Saiwu. But just as they move in, our boy strikes first, attacking the one closest to restraining him. A smile spreads across his face. Actually, I like the second option more, he says with amusement. Fry grins from the side, calling the opponents fools and revealing that it was all a ruse. The enemy team rushes Saiwu at once. One of them shouts that he'll kill him, but just before the strike lands, a voice calls out, Stop! Our boy turns his head and sees Hunter Gret stepping forward. Gret, eyes locked on Saiwu, declares, I'll take over from here. He's my target now. Our boy smirks, clearly entertained. Well played, Gret. Angered, Gret demands to know if Saiwu is the one who killed Jiken of Cerberus, Gret's brother. Fry whispers to our boy that, among everyone they've encountered so far, this guy Gret has the most refined skills. Saiwu replies nonchalantly that he doesn't remember what Gret is talking about. Filled with rage, Gret releases his aura and charges at Saiwu. He throws his best punch, but our boy easily blocks it. With a smile, Our boy comments that Gret's skills aren't bad. Saiwoo then observes aloud that Gret is likely around A rank. Hearing this, Gret realizes something shocking. Our boy is a healer, especially since Saiwoo is healing himself instantly after being hit. Wasting no time, Gret launches another strike, but Saiwoo swiftly dodges by stepping back. Ryu and the others are stunned, witnessing Saiwoo block the guildmaster's strike with ease. Gret yells at his subordinates, demanding to know why they're just standing there and ordering them to attack together. But before they can move, Saiwoo activates his lightning flash skill and instantly takes down all of Gret's subordinates. Our boy, smiling, states, "It's been ages since things got this interesting." Gret's defeated team can't believe it. A healer with acceleration skills? They begin to question Saiwoo's identity. Meanwhile, Gret watches carefully and realizes that Saiwoo is analyzing all of his movements and dodging them with minimal effort. None of the acceleration-type hunters Gret has met in the gate had ever shown such precision. Gret wonders just how wide this guy's field of vision is. He's no ordinary man. Seeing the situation escalate, Gret decides to go all out immediately. At that moment, Saiwoo speaks calmly. "You seem to be mistaken, Gret. If a crime has been committed, whether by your brother or someone else, they must face punishment. You and the others are awakened criminals. I'm simply the hand carrying out justice. So why do you look like you're the one who's been wronged? Shouldn't the people your brother hurt be the ones feeling that way?" Frustrated and enraged, Gret snaps, telling Saiwoo to stop spouting nonsense. He shouts that Saiwoo knows nothing about the life his brother lived. Gret declares that Jiken had no choice but to become a criminal. He did it to feed and protect Gret when they were kids. Everything he did was just to survive. At that moment, Gret unleashes his A-rank skill, Wolf Fong Heavenly Strike, launching dozens of mana arrows toward our boy. Fry, sighing heavily, tells our boy that Saiwoo is really overworking him today. After all, Fry is just a fragment of mana and feels exhausted. Saiwoo replies, "Just one more time. I'll handle the rest after that." Then, Saiwoo casts a legendary rank spell, Neutralize. The barrage of mana arrows suddenly vanishes, nullified before they reach him. Ryu stands in shock. He hadn't expected Saiwoo to possess a skill capable of completely negating an A-rank hunter's attack. Ryu realizes they're at a disadvantage, and maybe they should surrender. Before he can act, Saiwoo charges toward Gret, shouting, "Did everyone who went through what your brother did choose to become a criminal?" Our boy glares at Gret. "Stop with the fake sentimentality. That kind of excuse is outdated." He kicks at Gret, but Gret manages to block the attack, though the force pushes him back. Ryu and the others grow worried for their guild master, but Gret shouts at them to stay out of it. Gret thinks to himself, a skill of that level can't be used repeatedly. If he's a healer, I still have the advantage in endurance. He'll run out of mana soon in close combat. Gret charges again, using the same skill, aiming another powerful strike at our boy. But once more, Saiwoo dodges with ease and lands another kick. "Stop using that skill," our boy warns, striking Gret again. "The building's already falling apart. Are you going to take responsibility if it collapses?" Gret, even more enraged, uses Heavenly Strike again, but Saiwoo steps out of its path effortlessly. In desperation, Gret turns to Ryu and shouts, "Bind him!" Confused, Ryu activates his binding skill but hesitates. "Wait, what do you want, Guildmaster? First you say don't get involved. Then Gret says, 'Do it.' And Ryu, unsure at first, follows the command. We see Ryu's binding spell successfully stop Saiwoo from moving. Seeing this, Gret unleashes his full strength and charges at our boy to strike. In that instant, Saiwoo activates his special skill, Life Steal, an SS rank ability that absorbs the life force of any target within range. As the skill takes effect, Gret begins to transform. He's been turned into a zombie. Shocked, Ryu stammers, asking how something like that could possibly be a healer's skill. Our boy calmly responds, saying that calling the very first skill Saiwoo awakened as a hunter something like that misses the point entirely. Saiwoo was never an ordinary healer. Instead of using mana to heal, his abilities are rooted in manipulating life force itself. It's life spirit sorcery. Then our boy turns to Ryu and says it's his turn. Terrified, Ryu backs away and pleads that he won't resist. Saiwoo takes him down as well. Afterwards, our boy glances at his body cam and realizes it should have been recording. He quickly turns it on and asks if Byung-gu can see him properly. Siwo clarifies that he didn't start the fight, again, so this qualifies as self-defense. On the other end, Byung-gu is stunned. He immediately calls and informs our boy that he accidentally pressed the live button instead of record, and almost 6,000 people are already watching the stream. The scene shifts to a government office, where officials are gathered, discussing how this situation has become tricky for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. One of them questions when HMCS started streaming the capture of awakened criminals. Another responds that the practice began around 2 years ago as a promotional campaign launched by HMCS International Headquarters to attract talent. He explains that the concept was to stream the process of apprehending criminals using social media integration. However, it was considered a failed project during its trial phase, as HMCS never produced high-quality footage. Suddenly, the man realizes an incredible talent must have recently joined HMCS. Why would someone this skilled end up here? The other official replies, is that really the issue right now? What matters is that the person taken down in the live stream was a guest hunter from Hong Kong's Red Guild. After verifying the video's authenticity, there are no legal violations under current laws. At that moment, Choi Dae-soo, the current president of South Korea, enters the room and asks, "What's going on?"